Good afternoon and welcome back to Sierra Rignell Podcast. This is Charlie Pankey, your host, and we're so happy to have you with us today. Today we are in Truckee, California, and we're talking trails, man. We're talking about getting out and seeing the countryside and a little bit of the people who are making it possible for us. I am so lucky today and excited to have the Truckee Donner Land Trust group with us today. I got Greyson. Greyson, I forget your last name. He's the communications director, and Jesse, who's a trail director. And we're going to be talking about Truckee trails and Truckee land and all the ways we can recreate today. So stick around for the show. Greyson, Jesse, nice to have you. How are things going in Truckee today?
Thanks for having us on. We appreciate it. Things are looking really pretty. It's feeling like spring around here.
Right on. So it's almost time to get out on the trails. What do you guys do in the winter to keep busy up there? Is there a lot of projects you can work on when the snow's on the ground, or are you guys stuck indoors or on the ski slopes?
There's a lot on the planning side indoors during the summer, planning our projects, permitting, all those sorts of kind of mechanical pieces that go into it. And along with our trails, there's our land open space acquisitions. So we're working on projects along those lines too throughout the winter, and fundraising to make all that stuff happen.
That's right. And most of your trails are open during the wintertime in Truckee for like winter recreation, snowshoeing, and cross-country skiing, right?
Yeah, all of our properties are open year-round and accessible depending on your preference. There's cross-country skiing, snowshoeing, backcountry skiing.
Perfect. And we know if you live in Truckee, that's obviously something you guys probably have in your DNA up there, the way you like to recreate. So completely understand that. So that with the listeners can understand a little bit more of what we're talking about and who you guys are today, I was wondering if you guys might share a bit about your mission and history of the Truckee Donner Land Trust, where you guys kind of started from and where you're at today.
Yeah, so the Truckee Donner Land Trust has been around since 1990. We're a conservation nonprofit. This is our 35th anniversary. And over those 35 years, we've protected about 45,000 acres of open space, awesome, either through buying a piece of property outright from the seller or buying what's called a conservation easement on a property, which is where, say, you still own the property, but we own conservation rights on that property, so it'll stay as open space forever and accessible to the public for recreation.
That's fantastic.
Sorry, go ahead.
I said that. Yeah, that's great. I've been up in Martyrs Creek up there and a couple of other trailheads over the years, and like for example, Martyrs Creek, I've seen probably since the last 10 years the advance and change of access and what you guys have done for parking and just making it a better experience so it could last longer for people. I think that's one of my crown jewels in the area where I go that was done right. You guys, good job on that project.
Yeah, to us, we are primarily a conservation organization, but part and parcel of that for us is getting the public out on our lands, and the trails are the primary way that we do get people out on our lands. And what Jesse and his team do is pretty unique in that they design and build trails not only for the fun aspects of a trail, getting you to see pretty places, fun flow through the landscape, but they also take that conservation into account too, to make sure that we're, in making those trails, protecting the natural resources that we're all out there.
Yeah, Jesse, maybe you can touch on that. It's one of the things I've hiked all over the Sierra, and I've never personally built a trail, but I work with the Desolation Wilderness, and we do trail maintenance and cleanup too. But I've never really kind of asked the question. Maybe we can share with the audience what that is like to design a trail and keep conservation in mind. Because I'm a trail hiker. Sometimes I'll be on a trail and go, why did they go that direction? Why don't we just go through there? And there's obviously a reason for it most of the time, but maybe you can jump into some of the thought process you guys go through when you're talking about trails.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot does go into trail alignment. Alignment, basically means where the trail goes. We're looking for good flow, looking for good views, looking for just a fun trail overall. But conservation does go into that. Take our Carpenter Valley property, for example. It's a nice, pristine valley, and we put in a multi-use trail through there so people can enjoy the valley, but enjoy the valley from a distance in a way where we're not actually going right into the heart of the valley. We're staying out of the wetland areas. We're staying away from riparian areas, giving wildlife room to breathe, but still allowing people to enjoy the valley and access it and see the great views and enjoy it as well. So it's kind of balancing a little bit of, a fun, cool trail with great views, but also staying out of sensitive areas, ecological areas, like riparian and wildlife areas. So,
I so appreciate it. I've been to so many meadows over the years where I've seen unfortunate damage for people, got off trail and just trudged their own way through, or maybe they set up camp in the grass and killed a spot. And you just kind of, they had no ill intent. They were just trying to have fun. But it does leave a mark long term. So it's helpful to know where we're supposed to go, right?
Absolutely.
What are the big projects on tap for 2025? What are you guys working on currently that people can get excited about? I know you got a loop going around Donner Lake, I believe, right?
Yeah, so our big trail project that we're kicking off this year is the southern half of the Donner Lake Rim Trail, and this is kind of the cornerstone trail project for the land trust that we've been working on for almost 30 years now.
At least.
And so currently there is the northern stretch is complete. So that takes you from Donner's Summit down into Truckee over the course of about 15 miles.
Yeah,
right?
if you include Truck Creek.
Okay.
Folks should get out and check that out while they're waiting for the new trail to be built. But the new stretch, and Jesse can go into more detail, will be the southern half from Donner Memorial State Park over Schellenberger Ridge and up onto Donner's Summit, the Green Lakes area.
Yeah, so like Greyson said, it's going to start Donner Memorial State Park on the east side and kind of climb up Schellenberger, heading west, drop down to Lakeview Canyon, and then start climbing back up. It'll kind of wrap around Mount Judah there with Sugar Bowl, go into Sugar Bowl and kind of horseshoe around that little amphitheater in Sugar Bowl there, and then continue on east. It's actually a shared alignment with Placer County with their Memorial Overland Immigrant Trail project. So we're working closely with Placer County as well on this alignment, and it'll eventually split off, and the Memorial Overland Immigrant Trail will continue on towards Auburn, and the Rim Trail will eventually hopefully connect over to the north side with Castle Valley there.
Is the Auburn? Is that the new Pines to Mines Trail, or is that a different trail that I'm off on?
It's similar, not the same. So Pines to Mines is to the north, and it actually uses part of our existing Donner Lake Rim Trail to connect to Nevada City, whereas this is to the south. And yeah, it's a Placer County project with the goal of reaching from Truckee to Auburn. So there'll be quasi-parallel tracks of, 70-ish miles each. So pretty exciting stuff.
That's pretty exciting. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there's a horse race every year that starts up near Palisades and goes to Auburn or Grass Valley or something like that. They do this cross-country horse, route through there. So that must be a popular recreation zone that people have been dreaming about for years, to be able to kind of do that slope of the Sierra, if you will.
Yeah, there's a big push right now in the trail world to create more connectivity, connecting A to B a little bit more. And so, Pines to Mines, which we're working on, and the Donner Lake Rim Trail with a Memorial Overland Immigrant Trail are two examples of that. But there's a lot of fun energy around connecting communities, connecting destinations, and linking small trails together to make long adventures.
Is the goal to have most of that be multi-use, to be, so it's used, horse, mountain bike, foot, basically, is that kind of the concept?
Yep, looking for all trail users.
Yeah, and then like Tahoe National Forest, I know is probably one of the leading national forests that I can see in Sierra that's big into letting e-bikes out too, and making trail access for the e-community. I call it the e-community. Is that you guys get involved in that too, and where that fits and doesn't fit based on the conservation part?
So Donner Lake Rim Trail in particular, it's not all on Truckee Donner Land Trust lands. It does cross onto Forest Service lands as well as California state parks. So we work very closely with them and kind of abide by their regulations because we're sharing the trail, so to speak, with those organizations.
Gotcha. That's the one thing I know about what you guys probably do, and maybe we can share that with the readers, is that when you guys are looking at these projects and you're either buying a piece of land to conserve or building a trail, there's so many groups that you guys come together and work. The Forest Service is always probably involved. I didn't think about state parks. You got local government and trail network guys. There's so many groups. I imagine that's part of your job, Greyson, is how do you communicate and get them all working together? So like for the Donner Loop, like how many different organizations are involved in helping that project come to fruition?
Yeah, well, to back up one step, one thing that makes our work a little bit unique is that we work in what's called the Sierra Nevada Checkerboard, which goes back to the days of Abraham Lincoln and the Transcontinental Railroad, where President Lincoln gave the railroad companies every other square mile through this stretch of the Sierra and said, figure out the route for the Transcontinental Railroad, and whatever you don't use, sell it, use the profits to help finance the railroad. And so what we ended up with is what we call the checkerboard, because it's this every other square mile pattern of public, private. And so a lot of our work is buying up the private checkers and turning them into open space. And so a couple
I've
of those.
never heard that before, by the way. That was brand new knowledge in my brain. Like I've never heard that.
Yeah, it's an interesting part of Sierra Nevada history, and it's kind of a legacy that we grapple with in our work every day. Some of our properties that are involved in the Donner Lake Rim Trail are part of that legacy. Yeah, so partners, and just to jump in here if I can't think of anybody, we have the Forest Service, the Tahoe National Forest, California State Parks, Placer County, Sugar Bowl Ski Resort. Anybody else you can think of?
That's the big ones, yeah.
That's the big ones, right? Yeah.
But
and then the property owners themselves, right? You're working with, the railroad or individual property owners in the past. You started in 1990 to now. Like, what's the breadth of what you guys kind of, I don't want to say control, that may be the wrong one, that you conserve or that you work with and preserve at the moment?
Yeah, so overall we've conserved 45,000 acres of open space, and some of that we've transferred to other entities, including the Forest Service and California State Parks. So where the trail is going to start, going up Schallenberger Ridge as an example, we protected a lot of that land, but then handed it over to Donner Memorial State Park to be managed, coherently with their lands. Over our history, we've actually tripled the size of that state park through our acquisitions. So with the properties that we've transferred either to state parks, the Forest Service, or to Fish and Wildlife in some instances, we actively maintain about 20,000 of those acres of the 45 that we protected that are still under our ownership and active management.
Is it volunteer fed, or how big is your team that runs that organization?
We run a pretty lean ship. We have 9 full-time staff, and then Jesse brings on a couple seasonals every summer to help them out on the trails. So, it's a combination of volunteers. Jesse works with volunteer trail crews every summer, our staff getting out on the lands, and then we partner with other nonprofits in the area on other stewardship projects like forest health projects or meadow restoration projects, where not only do we want to acquire and protect the land, but we want to make sure it's healthy and is going to be there and in pristine shape for future generations to enjoy.
Awesome. But I just get curious here. We'll get back to how people can get involved in stuff this summer. If you look back over your tenure with the organization, what are some of your guys' most exciting success stories that you've had? What are some things that you guys go, that's like a jewel that I really am happy that we got done while I was here, type thing?
What do you think for stuff you worked on?
There's been some cool projects. Recently, 2 years ago, we built 5 new miles of trail out in Waddle Ranch. That was a cool project for me. It was really the first time really dipping my toes into trail building and trail alignment.
Okay.
Going out there with pin flags and popping flags in the ground and trying to figure out where this trail should go. And it's not as easy as it sounds.
Right.
A lot of going back and forth, but that was kind of a cool project for me personally. But there's been some cool projects as the organization as a whole.
Yeah, well, just to jump on what he said for a second, in the nuances of trail building, one of the ones that I think is really cool as an outsider on the trail building side of things is that they'll find very subtle grades and changes in the landscape to not only kind of make the trail more fun and flowy, but also to make sure the water doesn't just go straight down the trail and create a channel, so it'll run off the trail, so they can do these really interesting things with the landscape and the topography to make a trail both fun and functional and easier to maintain and less likely to erode and cause issues for the rest of the property. But
more sustainable over time.
Yeah, I did a thing with the Carson Valley Trail Association here, I think it was last year, where they had a completely moved a trail just more than about 4 feet over. Mm-hmm. It was a wide flat area, but the erosion in the old area was getting 4 feet deep, and they brought in a whole new terrain and then built it on a more stable plateau. But the big thing they talked about was how to get the drainage in that section to drain properly, so they wouldn't have those ruts anymore. That was quite a cool story. So I imagine that in the mountains, especially, all the runoff you guys get snow during the year, and that's got to be quite the challenge to kind of map out. So do you guys use a tool for that, like a GPS? Like, do you have a cool computer tool that shows you slope, or how do you do that? Just eyeball it, or?
Yeah, just a lot of old school, actually. Just like
old school works.
The clinometer, and working with a partner and just shooting grades across, expanses and being like, oh, that's too steep, that's not steep enough, or Yeah, you don't really think about trail too. When you start a trail, you kind of have to go to the end, right? You have to walk the whole thing.
figuring out, okay, well, here's where we're trying to get to now. What's the easiest way and best way to get between point A and point B?
Absolutely. There's a
That'd be
lot
quite
of,
fun.
bobbing and weaving, and sometimes it's easier than others, but yeah, you got boulders, you got trees, you got hills, and what's the best way to get here? What's going to be the most fun, and taking into account, like the conservation and
That's awesome.
the environment.
Get back to your
Yeah.
previous question about other accomplishments. Just in the last few years, a couple of big land acquisitions that have been really exciting. So we have Frog Lake up on the Sierra Crest, which is just a stunning property. It's a lake up at 7,600 feet that hadn't been open to the public for over 100 years, in the same family for over 100 years. And we're managing and running some backcountry huts up there that people can go and visit in the winter and the summer, either ski in, ski out in the winter, or hike or bike in the summer. And if anybody gets a chance to visit those are very much worth a visit. And then kind of on the other end of the spectrum from that very wilderness experience, we have Truckee Springs right in the heart of downtown Truckee that we recently acquired. It's a open space just on the other side of the river from downtown Truckee. And last fall, we finished working with the town on a new pedestrian bridge that connects it to downtown Truckee, as well as a new stretch of the Truckee River Legacy Trail, which is a paved multi-use trail right in the heart of our community. So it's a really great spot, and it's been really fun seeing people adopt it really quickly. It was a few days after the bridge was in that I was wandering around, and I saw families riding down the bike path on their bikes. There was a couple kids with fishing poles over their shoulder going to the river, people picnicking, just a great little green space right in the middle of town.
I'm gonna have to come check that one out. I don't remember you guys opening that up. That's my bad. So I always like to try to keep track of what you guys are doing up there, and organization wise. So I've missed that one myself. So I need to go up and check that out. So
yeah, come on up, give me a call, and we can go walk it together.
That'd be cool. Okay, that sounds good. Talking about just access and things people miss it. Maybe this would be a good time. Let's take a few moments and help the listeners if they're coming to Truckee and this area. Maybe give them one or two spots that hey, check this trail out. It's really got this awesome view. Or maybe that Frog Lake, that was a great example. If you can schedule those huts up and stuff. But what are some of your guys' favorite places to send guests when they're coming up for the first time?
Elizabethtown Meadows in the Martis Valley is a great one for people getting to know the area. It's across Highway 267 from the North Star Ski Resort.
Yep.
And a beautiful trail that's suitable for kind of all ability levels, so take the whole family. And it kind of parallels this meadow and this historic mining site, actually. And then it takes you out, you kind of open up out into the Martis Valley towards the end of the trail with really pretty views. It's a great one in the fall, too, because very aspeny stream course through there that turns really gold in the fall. And then as summer wears on and things get warmer and the snow melts up higher, our Royal Gorge property up on Donner Summit has some spectacular trails. The Roughton Peak Trail gets you up just on the very tippy top of the crest where you're looking down into the Royal Gorge of the North Fork of the American River.
That Royal Gorge is pretty awesome area. I've been up there. Yeah.
Any other ones that you like to point people to?
Johnson Canyon is always a good, easy one too. Easy access right off Interstate 80. This kind of North Canyon. You walk up on Winnan Way, which is a trail that is an access trail actually to the Donner Lake Run Trail north. But as you climb up and you look behind you, you get great views of the crest and Schellenberger Ridge and Donner Peak and everything. So that's a good one as well.
That's awesome. I haven't been on that either. I would imagine people are always looking for access to the river and ways to get access. I mean, it's such a pretty river, and fishing obviously too. Is the downtown that there's access there? Are there other trails that have great access to the river, or at least a proximity that makes it fun for guests to explore?
So on our properties, not specifically to the Truckee River, but as I mentioned before, on Truckee Springs, we have a new stretch of what's called the Truckee River Legacy Trail. It's a paved trail. And our section is just a few miles within the property that we acquired. That the town's ultimate goal is to connect all the way from Glenshire in the east to Donner Lake in the west. So right now, what the town has is Glenshire to our property. And so there's a lot of really fun stretches on the more eastern reach of that trail. And it's also part of the Tahoe Pyramid Bikeway that is in progress, in evolution, to connect from Lake Tahoe all the way down to Pyramid Lake eventually.
Yeah, that's going to be a great trail once that opens up. We were just talking about that actually recently. Carson City guys, we were talking about how eventually somebody can start in Lake Tahoe, Tahoe City, come all the way into Truckee, go all the way down into Reno, and come back around to Carson City as a bike packing trail because they got a trail with the V&T Railroad down here, and you can make it all the way to Virginia City. There's quite a route being developed over the years. It's gonna be pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a fun time for trails and connections being made in our area. A lot of fun opportunities for big and small adventures around here.
How did you guys get started in land trust business? Is there a personal story of something that you kind of hang your hat on that you really just love being able to say I was part of that over the years?
I came on. I've known the land trust for many years. I used to actually be a reporter at the local newspaper here in town. So
okay.
Was covering the land trust as a reporter before I worked here. Yeah, it's just an organization that I always admired. And when I had the opportunity to join the team, it's just a fantastic group of people doing really fantastic work, in my opinion. So I consider myself lucky to be here.
Very good. You and I may have crossed paths at one point. I used to work for that newspaper group.
Yeah, I was at the Sierra Sun from 2006 to 2010.
I was there from I guess 2007 to 2010. Okay. Yeah, so you and I were at the same time. I was down in Carson.
Oh, nice.
Jesse, you have one there?
I was just gonna say, I've always been, loved outdoor recreation. I was kind of working in the outdoor recreation field, and a couple of years ago, the opportunity arose to work here just seasonally to start, and I jumped on it, and just started as a seasonal trail guy, and eventually worked my way up to year round. Yeah, absolutely love being here. It's a great organization.
Well, let's talk about how people can get involved and how they can help out with the land trust and some of the projects you guys are working on. You guys mentioned you guys are working on the Donner Loop Trail this summer. Let's talk about volunteerism. If people want to volunteer first, how do they get stay in touch? How do they find out about opportunities, etc.?
So Jesse manages the volunteer trail days, like I mentioned before. We don't have them scheduled yet for the year, but if you sign up for our monthly email on our website, you'll be notified about when those are opened up. We don't know yet if we're going to be able to get volunteers out on the Donner Lake Rim Trail specifically with the work that needs to be done to start.
Okay.
There will be many other trail days on other trails, whether or not the Donner Lake Rim Trail is part of it. And Jesse can talk about this more, but we're finishing up a dirt trail also on that Truckee Springs property in downtown that I'm sure you'll have some trail days for. Right now, we're also trying to finish our fundraising for the Donner Lake Rim Trail. It's about $1 million project. Placer County as a partner has put in a little over $500,000, and so far private donors have put in about $150,000. We're plugging along, but if every little bit helps for people interested in donating to the project. To talk any more about trail days specifically?
Trail days. We have a mixture of both public and private trail days throughout the summer. Like Greyson said, the public days, they haven't planned yet, but they're usually on the website and announced in the e-blast. We do host private trail days too. A lot of times, people from local organizations reach out and be like, hey, we want to do like a team building thing. And so, we've had big companies like Google and HPE. We've had, like Nevada County Youth Commission and like the local hardware store. So if anyone's looking to put together like a private one too, the public ones don't pan out, but we're always looking for volunteers. And
every mile counts, right? Every use of manpower, and you get out on those trail days, and some days you don't cover very far because there's a lot of work to do, but every mile counts.
Many hands make light work.
Absolutely. Is there any other way that people can get involved? I mean, giving obviously is a big part of the land trust and donations and different season for that. So we can cover that. Any other ways that people can get involved and be helped besides just going out and using them and tell people about how awesome they are?
Yeah, just get out on land and enjoy it. And we feel that if you can connect with these open spaces, you'll end up caring about them, and that's what really counts. Our website, TruckeeDonnerLandTrust.org. You can find our different properties and our different trails, and find a new adventure for every weekend all summer long.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been on the website a couple times. There's a great little project section. It tells you kind of the history of the project and where the update is now. So definitely hop on that. Here at Sierra Rig Magazine, we donate 40% of all of our subscriptions back to trail networks and stuff. So we do that all the time. So we love supporting the trail organizations and all the work you guys are doing. So I really do appreciate that. Up there, because it just makes all of our communities better. This whole connected community idea over the last 10 years or so, it's been just great to see, right? To be able to see that people could get, just envision access that they used to think they only had a car for. Now we have opportunity. That's really pretty cool.
Yeah,
That's really neat. Guys, you wouldn't believe 30-minute show is already kind of at the window here. I do have a sponsor thing I need to run real quick, and then I have 3 questions that I want to ask you personally about outdoor recreation, okay? All right, let me give you just a second here. And if you're listening to us and you're traveling around, thank you for being with us again today. Don't stick around for these questions. As you know, I can't do anything without my sponsors. So here is a quick shout out to the Carson Valley, our sponsors. We sure love the Carson Valley Trail Network and all the things they do as well. They have a great organization that work just like the Truckee Donner Land Trust. And there's a lot of different organizations between here and Truckee that we rely on for all the recreation. So great support, great wide open spaces, and it just continues to get better for visitors. So that's great. Guys, we thank you so much for all that you're doing up there and everything that's going forward here at Sierra Rec. If we can ever do anything for you guys, just let us know. But got 3 questions for you. These are a little more personal, so you have to kind of get in your own mindset here, okay? So first question is, let's pretend your bags are packed for the weekend. You don't have to work on any trails or anything, but you get to go anywhere in the Sierra you want to go for the weekend and have a good time. Where are you heading?
Yeah, probably go down south. Yeah, like down the east side.
East side, okay.
Yeah, somewhere down there, Lone Pine or
you hiking or fishing or you backpacking? What are you doing?
Backpacking or hiking.
There you go.
Just being out in big mountains.
I like it.
I've been kind of daydreaming about a late spring, early summer trip up to Lassen when the road opens up and you can climb up the mountain and ski back down it.
I love Alaska. I went snowshoeing there on New Year's Day, climbed up a ridge. It was really pretty awesome to be up there in a snowstorm. Really cool place to go. Absolutely. Very cool. All right. So secondly, when I get done backpacking and hiking for big trip, I'm always hungry. I'm a big burger and cheeseburger guy. In Truckee, if I'm coming off the trail, a long day on the trail, what's the go-to piece of food or place to eat there in town?
Yeah, that's a good question. I always like Mexican foods, maybe tacos Jalisco's or Golden Rotisserie here in town.
There you go.
Go-to off the trail.
Yeah, Mexican's always good, or maybe like a brewery, like 50/50 or Alibi.
Nice. Always go for a good brew myself. That's always a lot of fun. All right, finally, we're all gearheads in some way, right? So piece of gear you never leave home without. It's kind of always with you. Maybe it's people laugh at you because you always have it. I'm a paper map guy, so I always have a paper map with me. What's your go-to piece of gear?
For me now, it's actually the trusty sun shirt with a hood on it to survive all the high altitude sun rays up here.
I personally switched to those backpacking. I love those myself.
Yeah, I'd almost say the same. I've been a fan of the sun hoodies for quite some time now. Yeah. Just like you said, maps. Yeah, just make sure all my maps are loaded and the tiles are there on the phone if I don't have a paper one. So
you're ready to go. Perfect. That's awesome. There's so many different ways that we can go gear-wise. The sun hoodie is by far changed my life as far as comfort on the trail.
Biking, hiking, skiing, it's good for everything.
Everything, right? And they got so many different layer styles that you can put on. So it's a pretty neat thing to do. So, guys, thank you so much for being part of the show. We're cheering for the Donner, circle to get done. Your big loop. I know it's still a project. You got a lot of things you're doing. Thank you for all the conservation efforts in the Truckee area. I know the trail community up there is one of the best in this year. This continues to grow network-wise. So stuff you guys are doing is being seen. So thank you very much for joining us.
Well, thanks for the opportunity to come on and chat with you. We appreciate it.
So check them out. Website again is TruckeeDonnerLandTrust.org. Find out about their volunteer organization, how to donate, to stay in touch with Truckee. And if you're watching us today, thank you very much for being on the show. Drive safe, be blessed wherever you're at. Share this with a friend. We're helping us get to 1,000 followers on YouTube. We're trying to get there. If you're on Spotify, give us a shout out below too. We'd love to hear from you. So other than that, have a great day, and we hope the Sierra is in your future.
Thanks so much.